أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Surah Al-Baqarah. I begin in the name of Allah, the most affectionate, the most merciful. Section 27, verse 217. يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه قل قتال فيه كبير وصد عن سبيل الله وكفر به والمسجد الحرام وإخراج أهله منه أكبر عند الله والفتنة أكبر من القتل ولا يزالون يقاتلونكم حتى يردوكم عن دينكم أن استطاعوا ومن يرتد منكم عن دينه فيمت وهو كافر فأولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. They ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, about fighting in the sacred month. Please declare, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, fighting therein is a great sin, but to prevent somebody from the way of Allah and disbelief in Him and preventing access to Masjid al-Haram and driving out its residents are greater sins in the sight of Allah Almighty. There, in brackets, mischief is more grievous than killing, and they will continue to fight with you until they force you to re-announce your faith. If they can, and whoever of you turns back from his faith and dies while he was a disbeliever, for them their deeds have become worthless in this world and in the hereafter, and they are the inmates of the fire of hell, and they will abide therein forever. And in the commentary it is mentioned, in the early days of Islam, war was forbidden during 4 months, namely Rajab, Zulqadah, Zilhajj, and Muharram. Even the idol worshippers of Makkah prior to Islam observed this rule. Once, when Hazrat Abdullah bin Jahash inadvertently declared war on the idol worshippers on 1st Rajab, thinking it to be 30th of Jamad al-Akhir, many objections were raised. It is on this occasion that the above verse was revealed. It should be remembered that Allah Almighty did not refer to this war of the companions of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a serious violation of the above. but as general decree, because this holy war of theirs was inadvertent. The word great in brackets is literally used and not to mean serious violation in brackets. Because during this period too, war in these 4 months was not regarded as a grave sin. From this discussion, two issues emerge. Number one, to prevent a Muslim from worshipping without a valid reason and to expel Muslims from their land is a grievous sin. And number two, one sinner does not have the right to taunt or reapproach another wrongdoer until he abstains from his sins. Allah Almighty too is telling the non-believers that you are taunting the Muslims for their one error. Why don't you first take stock of yourselves? Is the question. Gist of the matter is Hazrat Abdullah bin Johash's declaration of war was an inadvertent act, as such is free of sin. Or disbelievers are willfully committing despicable sins and yet you are reapproaching the Muslims for their one minor fault? From this one learns that when the pious persons are taunted, Allah Almighty Himself replies to these taunters without the pious having to reply. This incident highlights the status of the companions of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. From this discussion, two issues emerge. Number one, a non-believer can never be a friend of a believer. And number two, by the grace of Allah, the non-believers could never get the better of the companions because their faith is impregnable, as indicated by if they can in brackets. Apostasy results in the ruination of all one's good deeds. Therefore, if a pilgrim becomes an apostate, meaning murtad in brackets, and thereafter accepts Islam, he will have to perform his Hajj again, as his first Hajj becomes null and void. Likewise, all good deeds performed in the state of apostasy are all null and void and not acceptable. However, an original non-believer's good deeds becomes worthy of reward after he accepts Islam. One can also deduce that the tawbah of a murtad, one who sincerely seeks forgiveness, is acceptable, even though he may be worse than the original non-believer. The apostate loses out in this world in the following manner. His wife comes out of his nikah, marriage. He is no longer liable to receive any inheritance from his relatives. His wealth can be changed into booty. A decree can be issued for his death. All forms of love relations with Muslims are forbidden for him. No assistance can be rendered to him by Muslim. And in the hereafter, he is beyond redemption and void of any reward. In the light of this, it should be borne in mind that one should always be mindful of one's end, the moment of departure from this world, in brackets. May Allah Almighty grant all Muslims a blissful end, meaning death with faith. Ameen. Sallu ala al-Habib Sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.